After making our way up to the new desert area last episode, where we built our massive sand miner, it's time that we got a new source of power to help run our soon-to-be new factories. We're going to do something a little different this time and use the power of the ocean with some water turbines. Hello everyone, welcome back. We're still up in the new desert area, and today's episode I am planning on working on a form of power source. Currently have our temporary steam engine inside our sand mine, however I would like a bit more of a permanent source of electricity. And I think what I'm going to actually do is create a power station in the ocean here and essentially generate power from the ocean itself. Now, of course, that's not actually possible within the create mod. Well, I mean, you can create power from, of course, water wheels, but that's not quite what I'm getting at. Essentially, what I want to do is create like water turbines, but that's not actually possible in create, at least base create. So what I'm going to do is actually use windmills and just make them look more like water turbines. And honestly, the first thing I need to do is grab a bunch of iron again, because we're going to certainly need it. Certainly glad that I have this iron farm right now. And I'm also going to need some azurine, which I believe I at least have some. Yes, I have 95 and some pillars I can probably change back. Perhaps I should go mining for some more. I know we have some down next to my base here, which I guess I could just pretty much collect probably the rest of. And the main reason why I actually need this azurine is to make some of this stone metal from design and decor. And we can have this in a bunch of different colors, but I think I'm probably just going to use the basic one just to add a little bit of color into the design that I'm thinking of. And I think that will do for now. I'll make sure to press some more iron as well. And the other main thing I'm going to need is a bunch of wool. And I did bring back a bunch of wool from my farm the other day. So we at least have about 1,000, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need more than that. And luckily we can just head over to our barn here, where all our sheeps are. Because I was not nearby, it means that this probably needs to run for a little while. So I guess I'm just gonna stand here for a bit. Luckily for you guys, that will be exactly like 1 second. A second later for you guys, and many hours later for me, we now have an extra about 1,600 wool, which I think at this point is probably going to be enough. At least I hope so. Now for my own sanity, and probably everyone else's, I'm going to make my initial design probably on ground here, just so we can get an idea of how this turbine's going to look. And I do want to use this stone metal at least for the trim. And I'm more or less just going to create a circle here. And I think something about that size is going to be fine, because it is going to need to fit underneath the water. If we go to free cam here real quick, I do kind of probably want it somewhere around here, so it needs to definitely fit underneath the water without me having to dig down too far. And I'm probably going to have this about 6 away from the outer trim. Then we're going to probably need a bit of support back here, because this is where the actual turbine fan is going to attach to. We are going to need a windmill bearing for this. I'm probably going to stick that round about there. Add some support. And then we're going to grab our wool and I think change this up to a different kind. There's this one that's conveniently actually called windmill white wool. So I think that's probably actually what I'm going to go with. Of course, these would actually probably just be made out of metal, but we're working within confines of create. So for the turbine blade design itself, I don't think I'm going to go too wild of it. I think something like that will do just fine. And then I just need to repeat that a few more times here. With the wool placed in, I think I'm going to try and make these look a bit more interesting. And I think I'm going to just start with making myself a bunch of these copycat boards, placing them on the back of these blades, but reuse our plating just so they don't look all completely the same. And then maybe add some other small features like perhaps a little placard in the middle here. Then I think I'm also going to add some glowstone lanterns around. I think especially underneath the water, this will probably look quite good and at least make sure that the area stays lit up as well. And I might add some more of these actually on the inside too. Then I think with a few other visual features, we are more or less ready to go with this design, I think. at least until I get this under the water. So what I think I'm actually going to do is grab a schematic and quill and try and grab as much of this as possible. Sure that everything is within the schematic. You know, actually, maybe I should glue this all together, at least for the turbines, because I think schematics remember where things were glued. I don't actually remember. Let's give this a try. Now that it's all glued together, we can save our schematic. We'll just name it water turbine. And I think I'm probably just going to place my schematic table and cannon here, grab our water turbine design, and then kind of actually try and figure out where this is going to go. And I think somewhere around here is probably where I'm going to have it, as I do kind of want a long line of turbines here, I think, for our power source. But we are going to have to probably remove some of this sandstone and stuff, because it's currently kind of in the way. Also, hi Squid. And I do have my minecart contraption here, which isn't particularly big at the moment. I think this can work underneath water. I did never actually collect my other drill. I don't have enough time this week, so this will have to do for now. Yes, hopefully this just works. I mean, it works underneath lava. I can't see why it wouldn't work underneath water, you know? And there we go. With some of the land cleared away, I can probably start placing down at least my first turbine. I'm still going to need to do some landscaping around it. And I should probably make my life easier by, you know, making it so I can breathe underneath water, or at least have a longer time underneath water. But let's at least get this first bit of turbine down, just so that we have a good idea of what it looks like. And that is more or less what I wanted. Now, we are having some water issues, it seems. Like, these chains are not working underwater, and nor seemingly are these copycat boards. Although, I think this is actually all super glued together, so if I right-click this, it does spin it around. And that did kind of fix the issue. Now I need to just kind of dig up the rest of it, fix all this kind of water issues of there not being source blocks, which is strange because I'm pretty sure this is meant to change it to source blocks considering we're in the middle of the ocean, but whatever, I'll have to see how that works. You know what's funny? I was rushing around getting some stuff so that I could make a conduit, you know, Heart of the Sea and a bunch of Nautilus shells. I even found a Heart of the Sea and a couple of Nautilus shells. But then I suddenly remembered that Create does have a bag tank for pressurizing air, and as well as the diving helmet to help you breathe underwater. I don't know why I completely forgot about those. I guess I just haven't used it much in the past. So I think that's definitely what we are going to make, and that should make my life a lot easier. And they're luckily both pretty cheap to make. I just need to make copper block, and we have our tank, and we already have all the resources for this as well. So yeah, there we go. Let me place this where our other helm is at the moment, and then fit up this copper bank tank. And honestly, the one annoying thing about these tanks is that they have to be powered from above, which I find is a little bit strange. So I'm going to just borrow this for now. I'll let that fill up. There we go. That is a full tank. I'm not actually 100% sure how long this lasts. I think I'm going to take my backpack off for now. Place that. Oh no, I can't place it there. Never mind. It's going where my jetpack is. But that should definitely make my life a lot easier. So if we head back north, oh god, without a jetpack it feels so weird. But now if we head underneath, we have 15 minutes. Oh, that's perfect. And there we go. I fixed all the weird water issues and I've got this finally up and running. If we look in the center while getting casually pushed around, we have got the maximum amount of power from a windmill bearing. So now I've just got to do this like 20 more times. Okay, maybe not actually 20. Maybe actually 20. But I'm probably going to continue this alongside and also a little bit back as well, I think. Just so we can get as much power into as small of a space as possible. So if I get another schematic placed overlapping the other one, we can certainly build a few more. And there we go. There is our 5 turbines in, which should be making a decent amount of power. Also assuming like this is very bizarre, I'm not going to lie. But now the thing I would like to do next is actually make a schematic of these 5 together. And the reasoning behind that is I want to actually duplicate these all the way back. And I think I'm going to do that by also using a pattern schematic. If I grab all of those and I can name this 5 turbines. And then grab this empty pattern schematic, because I think we can use this to essentially not have to use the cannon several times. Because if I place it in here and treat it like I typically would, I can upload this schematic, place it down like any other typical schematic, draw it in the right spot, and I can switch this to clone, and then I think if I come over here, I can then clone this back a few times. And the schematic thing's a little bit broken, so I have to face it the opposite direction. But I'm thinking of adding maybe 2 more or 3 more in depth to these. Certainly be quite a lot of materials. If I leave this at that and then take this back to our cannon, you can throw that in just like a normal schematic and then grab our material checklist. And now we just need to more or less grab all these things. And I'm actually going to remove the sand and sandstone out of this backpack so I don't accidentally place those down, as they're not necessary. Of course, the one issue that's going to occur is that we've got a bunch of sandstone and sand in the way. And I think instead of using the machine to mine out the area, I think I am just going to place it in the cannon and then go in manually with my pickaxe. Just because I think it's honestly going to be a little bit quicker that way. But I'll be making the rest of these materials, and once that is done, we can have ourselves another little time lapse. And there we go, there is all our turbines in. I did realize when I initially made the schematic that I had forgotten to stop the turbines, so I did fix that at least before I started printing it. But now we should have about 15 turbines, which is about just underneath 123,000 SU, so that should be pretty good for now. Now the next main thing I need to do is more or less just turn these all on and start hooking them all up together. And I'll probably use some encased stuff and just bring it up these pillars and up on top. And we can more or less just remove these, place our gearbox in, facing the right direction, bring our shafts all the way up to the top here. I think I'll use this industrial iron just to kind of cover up all the stuff so that it blends in still. Then if I just turn this on, I should now be transferring power up to the top here. Yeah, perfect. Now I just got to do that for the other 14 turbines as well. There is all our gearboxes in, connecting up at least each kind of quadrant of turbines together. Now, I must admit, I didn't think too deeply how I wanted this to look from above ground / above water, I guess. But I think what I will do is kind of create some like pylons across here, just to pick up on all the different gearboxes as it goes across, and then maybe make a kind of like substation or something over here. That way I can then start distributing power to all our different factories that I plan over here. I think for this design, we're going to have something coming out of the water here, just so it's elevated up a little bit. And the idea that I have might look a little bit high tech, but honestly, I think I'm fine with that. But I think I'm going to essentially have a bunch of kind of circles using this dark metal plating. And then I can have some of these shafts coming up to a chain conveyor, which I'm actually going to convert to an industrial iron one. Then I do want to add some lights, so I've grabbed some glowstone. We can add those to the sides. Then I've also made a bunch of these diagonal girders to help kind of round out the circle a little bit. Something along those lines. And I'm going to use probably some of this polished stone just to come up sides here and actually complete the tower. And then I pretty much just want to repeat that design along each of the gearboxes and then figure out how I want to connect them up. Yeah, I think with these towers, I am just going to have a direct connection with some more plating and use some of these edge tough blocks, kind of act as a bit of a mini bridge kind of support thing, I think. Like so, and make sure to repeat that on the other side. Then of course we can connect up our conveyors, but what I also kind of thought would be kind of fun is to actually use some of these large industrial chains to kind of overlap them, because these are much easier to see from a distance compared to smaller counterparts. And yeah, I think that's the general kind of design that I want. It does look a little bit high-tech probably compared to the rest of the stuff that I've made, but hey, you know, why not? Now I need to just more or less repeat this a couple more times until we get to the shore. And then I might actually build something on top of these as well. There we go, there are our 5 main pylons all hooked up so that we should be getting a decent amount of power from all of the turbines now. However, I think it would be fun to get even more power. I think what I might do here is grab a windmill bearing and actually place it above. Connect this up, because I think I want to come up with a bit of a windmill design to actually go up on top. And it is going to be kind of the vertical windmill type. I think a blade shaped like that will probably do. Then I just need to repeat that a few times around. And that's the kind of full turbine design. Now I just need to glue it together with the help of some support blocks here, just so I can get it all glued in one, although apparently not because it's too big. Sometimes I forget that the glue has a restricted distance to it. And there we go, that should all be properly glued now. And now that should in theory give us... Okay, well clearly it's not going the right way around apparently. Let's try that again. I'll have to get rid of this shaft real quick and place it back down again. And make sure to rotate this to be counterclockwise so it doesn't break off. Now if I turn this on, we have another windmill to go on top and rotate, giving us an extra 8k power. Perfect. Now I just need to do that another 4 more times. There we go, there is all our wind turbines in, adding another around about 40,000 SU I think. Now I'd like to hook this up to a kind of substation of sorts, which I'm probably just going to place over on this bit of land over here. Once again, I haven't thought too deeply about the kind of design I want, but I do want something that kind of blends in, I think, a little bit with the sand. Basically a building made out of sandstone, more or less, with some more metal elements, just so it kind of fits in with the rest of the build. So I probably am going to grab a bunch of sandstone from my storage, some more iron of course, and just because it's a similar kind of vibe, I'm coming over to my wood farm because I think I'm going to grab a bunch of birch logs, because I think having a nice mix of birch and sandstone will probably look quite nice. I'm going to start with some of these sandstone bricks, making sure to kind of center on the turbines. I think a footprint of this size will do. So we continue our wall upwards, maybe some typical sandstone on top. And I think I do want the corners to be these stone walls to add a little bit of depth. I think I'm going to use a mixture of these birch planks and these stripped birch logs, just to kind of surround with some of the materials. And I do want to make sure that these chain drives can go straight through the wall here. So I think I'm going to try and set up a bit of a gap with some of this metal plating to trim it. A gap that big should be probably big enough. And also apparently I can't count, so I need to move this all out by 1. Okay, there we go, there's that fixed. And I think I want to add little windows here on each side. And I made some of these sandstone pillar walls from McCaw's fences, and I think these would be nice little windows to go in between. And I think that I also want to kind of wrap this around the building, because I like how that looks a bit more of a floor divider. Then I think I'm also going to use some more copycat steps underneath, so it looks a little bit more solid than it currently does. I'm going to more or less just continue that design all the way around the building, I think. Probably open up some kind of other entrance over here. It's more or less what I wanted for the rest of this. And I think I am going to wrap this metal plating around. I am going to leave this bit a bit open because I think to the rest of the rings, probably something along those lines. And we can even grab our little glowstone and place it at the top here. Then going to use some more of this sandstone pillar walls to kind of wrap that around. We can place our chain conveyor there and then hook these up to reach across. And don't forget to use our industrial chains to keep moving across this as well. Here we go. And as for the roof design, I think I want to continue using this dark metal plating. And I think I want that kind of pitch for the roof. And funny enough, this is starting to look like almost vaguely Parisian. That was entirely an accident, but whatever, we can continue. I'm going to keep using some of these copycat steps to kind of step it up a little. Use some more of this sandstone pillar wall to kind of wrap around too. I think I'm also going to place some lightning rods on the corners here, just to make sure that it keeps looking more like a building to do with power. I think the last thing I'm going to do is also place some copycat bits here. And there we go. I think that's more or less what I wanted for the exterior of this building. I think it matches quite nicely with the desert while also looking a little bit more high-tech with all the metals and stuff. Now, as for the interior, I think this building's main purpose is to mostly just convert the power into a much faster speed. I think we can mostly do that with the power of a rotational speed controller. I can just bring the power down and straight in. That way we can make this pretty fast. I'll leave it 128 for now. And then I guess I also want to be able to actually tell how much power we're making. So obviously going to need a speedometer. I guess we can just hook up to this. And actually, no, we don't need a speedometer. What am I talking about? I need a stressometer. I can obviously just convert the speedometer. You are making 155,000 SU, which is definitely quite a lot. I think I'm going to make use of this bit here to put some display boards down, and I can use my display link to connect up from the display board to our stressometer, and then we can tell this to be on line 2, I'm guessing, and have that as total capacity. Then we can write on our clipboard, say total capacity, and click on the top one. It doesn't quite fit, so maybe I should actually make this a little bit longer. Try that again, and then we can add some spaces afterwards just so we can try and center it, I think. Make that a bit more readable. And there we go. I also added capacity left as well. Now I think I'll probably just decorate the rest of the inside of this building and get some power out of the front, and then show you what I've done afterwards. And there we go. I just added a couple of things on the walls to make them look more interesting, some cogs underneath, as well as some flywheels. And then I also actually did a little tiny bit of decorating next to our turbines as well. I added a bunch of sea pickles around, some seagrass, and a bunch of corals as well, so that this area looks a bit more interesting. I particularly like this angle where you can kind of see all the water turbines and also the wind turbines on top as well. But anyway, I think that's all I have time for this week. Thank you everyone for watching. I super appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye for now.